Hey, hi everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Bridget and I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is November 12th, 2019. I have a home group, a sponsor, a commitment. I also have a service sponsor. I sponsor other women. I have been through the steps. I think that's everything. Um, I'm just going to talk about what it was like, what happened and what it's like now, and kind of um, I have to shout out CSCYPAA, and kind of how that all came into play. My parents are also sober. They met in AA, and actually, this coming Sunday, if my dad continues doing what he's been doing for the last 38 years, he will celebrate 39 years on Sunday, which is crazy. God willing, Sunday's not here yet, but yeah. So that's a lot of years. So I grew up going to meetings and I was a happy, like, I have to say, looking at pictures, I was a pretty cute little kid, just like a bubbly, gregarious toddler. And little kid, I think as I got older, I feel like that's when I started to see some of the isms come out. And actually, one of my friends said the ids, and now I don't, the RIDS, restless, irritable, discontent. Yeah. And I'm like, that is so good. That is exactly how I felt. Like, I heard it here, the square peg in a round hole. It just, I never felt good enough in my skin. And it didn't matter really like how many friends I had or any sort of like external validation. I would chase it no matter what, but it was so fleeting, you know? So all of that to say I experienced some like mental health issues from like a pretty young age, just the basic, the works, just like anxiety and depression. I feel like younger than probably it felt like younger than most of my peers experienced it. And I didn't really have, obviously having parents in the program, and like my parents still go to like I think at least 4 meetings a week. Yeah, three is like their baseline, which is like I feel like now in my AA community, three is like a common baseline. So it's like it's funny. My mom is very, and my dad, but like my parents just watch out for me and like they're the best. But yeah, she watches. She especially watches how many meetings I go to. And I'm grateful for that today because I need that. And like that's a big part of my community, my parents. So they are still very active in the AA community. And so I didn't have access really to alcohol growing up. Um, and my friends in high school were like very much like pretty into academics and like athletic. I was not. I was not coordinated, but I did do sports. In my freshman year, like I was someone who had to go on antidepressants and have my parents kind of advocate for that. I was in a partial hospitalization program when I was in ninth grade. Um, and so I remember one of the doctors saying to me, like, if you try anything like he didn't specifically say alcohol, but he did mention like smoking pot or anything, these this medication will not work. And that kind of like went in one ear and out the other. Um, I don't, yeah. I just didn't really listen. And at that time, it wasn't something that I had access to. But later on, um, I would say to one of my friends in college, like, I don't understand what the big deal is about about drinking on antidepressants. And one of my friends saying to me, like, oh, it'll make you black out really easily. And that kind of being like, oh, that's why they say that. That's why you're not supposed to do that. And like for me, that definitely did happen to me, but also I remember learning in like a psychology class that like I and don't quote me on this because this was in high school, so it was a long time ago. But like part of one of the indicators of alcoholism, I think, is how often you black out, which is like that makes sense, that tracks. But also, like if you have, I think, a small tolerance, but it affects you greatly. So like a little bit can really affect you, and that would happen to me. And like I never knew how the night was going to end up. Ultimately, once I got to college, because in high school I had super diligent parents that watched me, and the last couple years there was like some parties here and there. And it's funny because those were like the moments in high school where I was like itching to like get some freedom and like go and have some fun. And like looking back today in sobriety, those are some of the nights that like I've really had to look in therapy. I've had to talk about those a lot in therapy. Like I didn't realize the damage that I would actually end up doing to myself. And like that I feel like was my disease talking to me at like a young age. Just things I had no idea at the time. I got sober when I was 22. So I had been out of college about 6 months. I was, it, I just like skipped over all of college, but it was like, you get the gist. It was dark. It was more of the same thing, you know? It was a fast decline, thank God. Um, it was really scary. Um, I had never gotten in trouble before with like the police or anything. That happened in college. A lot of like not w waking up and having like chunks of time missing and kind of just realizing like I only remember like really eating dinner last night, but I know that like we went out and got ready and stuff, but things like that. But I got sober like 6 months after I graduated from college, so I had been 22 for a couple months. And like today, that just makes me like I feel so proud of myself for that. Um, what brought me there was like the truly some of the darkest moments of my life. Um, I had a psychotic break. Um, I was experimenting with outside issues, really like vaping marijuana. So it was really high in my I had a high level of THC in my blood, and I had stopped taking one of my medications cold turkey. And at that time, I had graduated from college. Um, my grades always ended up being okay. I don't know how I did that, but they ended up being fine. And I was living in Manhattan as a working as a luxury real estate paralegal, and I had stopped taking one of my medications cold turkey because I never it was one of those things where it's like I look back and I see how crazy my disease made me, but I never set up like my health. I needed to set up like an APRN in the city, and I never did that. And so I didn't refill my medication in time, so I stopped this medication cold turkey. So I stopped sleeping, which induced a psychotic break. Combined with the THC, that all induced a psychotic break. So, um, this disease brought me to my knees. I was drinking that whole time, obviously. That was kind of I think how I coped with like seeing my life start to fall apart around me because I was also going crazy. Um, so my life brought me to my knees. My higher power ultimately brought me to my knees so that I think I could have the realization that like AA is the last house on the block and I need to come here. Um, I moved home pretty suddenly in November 2019. And I think my parents were kind of surprised at like how sick I was. Um, because I was living in another state, so they would like come and visit me, but I think that was the first time they spent like extended time with me and realized that like I was in fact a basket case. Um, so I went to my first meeting, I think within like 48 hours of being home. And I remember, like, obviously I raised my hand because it was my first meeting, but I went to a lot of meetings when I was little, but it was the first time I was there for myself. Um, and they didn't, obviously nobody pressured me to, say like, "Hi, I'm Bridget, I'm an alcoholic," but the words just kind of fell out of my mouth. Um, and like that would be the beginning of the rest of my life. And so it's been like over 5 years since then, which is crazy. Um, I've gone through the steps twice. I also went through the steps with another recovery group, Eating Disorders Anonymous, which is like the amount of healing I've been able to do in recovery is something that I never imagined. Um, so I went through those steps with my first sponsor. Um, I've been in therapy. I've gotten a new job and I've worked at the same place for 4 years. I went on my first vacation in recovery last year, and it was with three other sober women. And we went to Disney World. One of them is like a Disney adult. So she was our tour guide, and it was amazing. And she has a lot of sober time. And I remember I was talking about like, I think relationship I was struggling with my grandma. And she was like, if I were your sponsor, I would tell you to like just do whatever your grandma was telling you, which I think she like, this is gonna sound terrible, but my grandma can be hard to be around. There's a lot there. And I think she was giving me crap about not seeing her. And I'm like, I don't want to see you if you're giving me crap about not seeing you. And if my friend was like, if I were your sponsor, I would tell you to just do it. Um, and my like yesterday, I was thinking about that the last few days and how like I didn't say anything at the time. Like I just took it because I was like, oh, I don't want to hear that, but I know she's right. But like that sat with me for a while, and I saw my grandma like a few days ago, and immediately she gave me crap for not seeing her, and she just had surgery. So she just had knee surgery. My aunt was there with her. My mom was there with her. I was there with her a few days ago, and she gave me crap about not seeing her. And like the words just fell out of my mouth. I was like, I'll be here Tuesday. Like, I'll be here Tuesday, okay? Is there anything you want me to bring you? And so yesterday I brought her dinner and like did her dishes and like made sure she had all of her ice packs and stuff. And like there's just like I feel like that wasn't me, you know? Or maybe I am becoming a better person because of this program. And like that's the kind of stuff that AA has taught me. A little over a year ago, I joined CSCYPAA. One of my friends kept talking about it. And it's hard for me to talk to young people my age. I don't know why. I think that is like one of the last things that I will like have to conquer. It's hard for me to talk to people my age. My anxiety has definitely gotten higher in recovery. I don't know if that will ever go away, but I think it's just part of becoming more aware about like who I am as a person. Um, and I'm grateful for it because I think it like so much has also come with that awareness. Like I wouldn't give it up for anything. But it can be tough. So I joined CSCYPAA because my friend wouldn't stop talking about it. And I met all of these cool people. And I really wanted to get more involved in service because it felt like, I don't know, something was missing. Like I could give more. And all of the things this program has given to me, like what am I giving back, you know? So I joined around this time last year, actually. It's funny because we just had in Connecticut, we have like three big Area 11. It's like Connecticut's service. Oh God, I'm gonna butcher it. Area 11 is like Connecticut. But we have three big events coming up. The first one was this past weekend, Roundup. And so that was the first time I met a lot of the people on Siskiyou in person, this time last year. And so this was like our anniversary. They didn't realize it. And not all of them from last year were there, but yeah. And so that was just really special. It was like, I don't know, getting to be like learning who I actually am and getting to have people, other sober young people who meet that version of myself. And like now, the people I work with, one, I would never have this job if I weren't sober. I would never be able to keep it. I wouldn't have, I, in November, I got a new position and like, one thing I'm really proud of is at my job, I've like gradually gotten higher positions, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I weren't sober. I wouldn't have this job. But there was something I was going with that. They've only ever seen me sober, and they only know that version of me, and I'm really, really proud of that. Um, I think that, oh, I also I have a service sponsor, and like that is really cool. That's new for me. So we started. I've had the same homework for like a few months, so I need to do it. But that's something new that I never learned about before, CSCYPAA and like all of the different tr that's my timer. Traditions and concepts. So I think that sobriety is without a doubt the biggest gift that my higher power has ever given me, and I'm really, really glad to be here. Thanks.